SAKAJA Arthur Johnson, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Governor, why does your team have to leave everything very late? Because there's a period of time within which you are supposed to respond. If you wait until the very last minute, like a Friday at 5 p.m., you know, this is what we used to do in campus, submitting assignments at the very last possible time. It's a Kenyan problem, but
Chair, the documents were ready. I will not have my team take any blame because it was my signature that was being awaited for, and I was away.
Governor, you see the risk that you run when you leave things late. We run into problems such as this because we are very eager to move at the pace of other counties. We are the only county that now is still dealing with 2022 issues. And yet in this committee, your colleagues in the Council of Governors, we are now looking at their 2023 documentation. So my only advice would be, don't leave things too late because you will run into these problems that we are in now.
21-22, of course, when I was here with you in the Senate, was a disclaimer of opinion. That means it was a problem, bad problem, which led me to go there. 22-23, my first year, of course, that one I was advanced.
Was advanced.
The first one. I am very confident this one is a very good report. Now, with the folly of the law of averages, we will not want those issues, if resolved, to show up in the 23-24 report. And so I would, because it would reduce the chances of a good audit opinion, which I'm very confident, you know, just based on what, and if you ask them, they'll tell you. In fact, in this opening of the audit, the deputy director will tell you, of all the counties, I am the one governor who sat through the entire meeting with every CEC and chief officer. We were at Nairobi Safari Club, went through the entire process, and have been taking step by step. And so I would not want the current report. The issues can be dealt with, but they should not contribute to the opinion of this current, which they're actually finishing. Because I believe those issues have been resolved. That is the clarification I require.
Point of order. With great respect, Governor, I don't think you can set your own marking scheme.
No,
and then
it's not a marking scheme. I'm saying
just allow the.
You know, if you do KCSE,
just allow
from 2 results and from 3 results should not be used.
Just allow the Auditor General to undertake the process in accordance with the law and the Constitution.
Exactly. That is what I want.
And do not exert undue pressure for a certain result.
Yes.
So, just to clarify, I would never do that.
Well, we must protect the Auditor General.
Honorable Chair and Honorable Governor, there is a small message that I have for you this morning from the people of Kamkunji. I was in Kitui village, Honorable Chair, in the morning. We had a fire incident there on Wednesday, and we lost about 7 people. And over 100 people were affected as well. And Governor, when I was there, there are a few things that I was requested to bring to your attention. First of all is the state of Muratina Road from the junction of General Warwinge at the Pumwani Maternity Hospital all the way down to Lamu Road. What are you hearing from the people at Kura about the state of that road? Because it is in terrible shape, and I've seen it myself. Just a few weeks ago, I think a few days ago, one of the local media stations actually ran an expose or a story on the state of roads in Nairobi. And whereas we might understand the situation in Kilimani and parts of Hurlingham because of the heavy construction equipment that is always on those roads, maybe you could update the people of Nairobi on the state of that road called Muratina Road. Secondly, Governor, I'm sure your team was there because I was told the firefighting team on this specific occasion did not do very badly. The words that were used by the people of Kamkunji was that they didn't do too badly. So please don't substitute the words with your own. But Governor, when I was there today, this morning, raw sewage is flowing into people's homes. I don't know if it has been brought to the attention of your teams and what they are doing about it. Lastly, Governor, we had a conversation with you here after the heavy rains. I think that was the last time you appeared here. You remember the case of the bridges that were swept away. And I think, if I'm not wrong, and you can jog my memory. You had told us that you're going to prioritize reconstruction of those bridges. The people there told me that that has not been done. So maybe you can address those issues just for the comfort of the people of Nairobi, and then we can delve into the main issues today.
Chair, while that might not be the subject matter today on this audit, I think it's a good opportunity to respond. Indeed, we've had many cases of fires due to many reasons that we're dealing with, including illegal power connections. In this particular instance, it was 6 people who lost their lives. There were 2 families. There was Kenneth Orambo, a 45-year-old, and his children. There was Yusuf. There was Joanne and Jessica Orambo, who was 2.5 years. We're in contact with the family, Sarah and Jamal, after that incident. The other family was 2 people. There's a mother and a child. The mother is called Sylvia Akumu, and the child is Nelson, 2.5 years. Our team swung into action quite swiftly to solve, of course, issues of access, were a problem because of, the kind of informal settlement that we have there. And our deep condolences to those who lost loved ones. 6 people are 1 person too many to lose. We've given support. Those affected are currently at a hall nearby. We've been able to give food and material support, that is blankets, mattresses and food stuff. And we're talking to the structure owners, these are tenants, but trying to see how to help them to reconstruct, and even with more training of, fast response, because in as much as the nearest station would take them 8 or so minutes and they were there in less than 15, the fast responders normally are the young people around there, and we have a program of training young people across the city to be able to respond quickly. It is true there's this issue of state of roads, and which is why, we really implore upon the Senate, even in as much as there's white smoke on the division of revenue, which we are not happy with as governors, there's the pending issue of RMLF. A lot of these roads whose state has been raised, including Muratina and Jogoro was on the news, and you see vehicles jumping off those potholes. People are not able to distinguish whose responsibility it is, because those are national roads under Kura. You find that when RMLF, which is a tax levied on everyone who uses fuel, the money is disbursed only to the national government, then counties are not able to maintain roads. Now, when you give this to members of parliament, for instance, which they do through KERA, we have Kenya rural roads doing roads in Nairobi, and this is an urban city. The prioritization of those roads is political. And so there is no MP who will put money on Jogo Road, because there are no votes there. They'll go put money, the MP for Westlands, for instance, will do Kangemi, will not do Westlands Shopping Center. The MP for the Great North will not touch Yaya Center or Agwins Kodek, they'll go to Kawangware. And that is why, as governors, we are saying that a tax raised nationally by every taxpayer using county or national roads should therefore also be distributed by the ratio of county roads versus national roads. And the county roads are actually more than national roads. Some of the roads we've been able to do, including in Isili, Waudo Street and a number of the avenues, was because we were able to get stuck RMLF from 2019 when we got into office, around 900 million or so that had been stuck during the previous regime because they diverted funds. I was able to get them and do many of the roads. If you go now to every ward in Nairobi, there are road projects going on through what we call our ward-based projects. We focus projects in every ward. The highest allocation previously, Senator, was 200 million in 2017-18. When I got into office the first year, we did 735 million worth of those roads. And this last year, we've done 950 million worth of those roads. So those are roads which are internal. Fortunately for us, Section 6 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act talks about infrastructure in the capital city and the need for a special arrangement between the national and county government. And we've been able to sit down with the national government and said, look, we need to prioritize certain roads, some which are under your purview, and extra support for those under our purview due to lack of the RMLF. And we've agreed on an initial 4 to 5 billion shillings that begins this December and in January. so that we can sort out those. There's the Chanias and the ones up market, but also down there. Remember those around 2.1 billion worth of NMS, projects that were stalled, and those went to the executive office of the president. I'm happy that we've gotten a commitment, but we want to push it because no county should beg for what is rightfully theirs. The number of road users we have in the city who are paying RMLF, if you have to georeference it, possibly 30 to 40% of the entire road maintenance levy fund is on Nairobi road users, yet the county is not getting that money. So Senator Sifuna, I'll look at the specific one, but I know that is part of the roads on our list that we're pushing to be done. As recently as actually this Monday, I sat with the CS Davis Chichir, Kura Director General, Kenha as well. We've seen the mess here on Uhuru Highway and under the expressway. They did the road up there. Below it looks like a war zone. A contract was awarded. The people of Kangemi want the bridge to cross over to the other side of, Loresho and Kibagare. There's a 3 billion pending bill there. So if you look at what and I would be very happy to furnish the Senate with the details, coming to around 11.2 or so billion shillings to just sort out the capital must look like the capital. We lost many trees during construction of the expressway. We used to have beautiful boulevards of Jacaranda. We want to restore those, and also walkways, non-motorized transport using high-performance concrete. So I'll be very happy to come to this committee or to the roads committee to express that the Senate must fight for counties. Counties don't want, that money is ring-fenced for infrastructure. If you allocate it politically through members of parliament, you will never sort out linkages between constituencies, which is the matter that we're dealing with. So finally, we're checking. We have the contact persons in Majengo. I spoke to the member of parliament, Honorable Yusuf, the area MCA, Honorable Irungu. We are working closely with them, with our disaster team, because also what we do is post-disaster psychosocial support to the affected families.
So the question of the sewage and the bridges.
Yeah, the bridges we constructed, the ones which had been targeted during that last flooding, were 17 bridges. Mainly, the worst affected place was along Madare River, Huruma Hospital Ward, coming up to Mabatini, Ngumba Bridge. We did a bridge in Udhiru Rudhimitu. We did bridges in Kibra constituency, and so I can furnish the committee that list. At that point, there was no bridge targeted at Kitui village, but closer by there's a Kiambu bridge. The two bridges, one crosses over to KCC, another one crosses over to the other side of Mukuru. We raised the level of those bridges. They're higher because of the rising water level. Now, what we're doing as well is, because the riparian was secured after that. Unfortunately, there was a silver lining that 30 meters on both sides got secured. We are really pushing, of course, for the settlement and compensation and prioritization of those affected, especially in Madare and Ruaraka constituency, but of course Mukuru as well, in the affordable housing. But the Greenway project that we're doing now with the Rivers Commission includes us as Nairobi County doing 54 kilometers of trunk sewers along the river, starting with Nairobi River, which is 27 kilometers. The kind of sewer, because a lot of what goes in is from connections of people who have nowhere else to connect their sewer. 1.8 by 2 meter diameter will last us another 40 years for the city. And so we're happy that we have that opportunity now to sort out a long problem. Remember, the challenge in the city comes from a colonial history. Nairobi is known as a land of rivers. Most cities, the frontage is the rivers. We have Nairobi River, Ngong, and Madare. But what happened?
Point of order, Chair. Governor, because we don't want to take up the entire meeting with our issues that are outside the mandate of this committee, perhaps just address the flowing sewage today. At that particular site, your people have been there, at Kitui village. It is flowing into people's houses. I've seen it myself. You just direct your officers to be able to deal with that issue by today.
Yeah, I'll confirm that because I've not gotten that specific report. But what I was generally saying is that there's now been an injection of funds to Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company to sort out many of those problems of all infrastructure. If you look at, as I conclude, Nairobi, CBD, and Ngara, Pangani, Isili, the sewerage infrastructure for solid waste was set up pre-independence. It's very old infrastructure for a smaller population. We now have AFD Bank support. We have French Development, that's French Development Agency and Africa Development Bank, sorting out the lateral connections to that trunk that I'm mentioning. So because there's also, a river passing there, they will be part of that program.
Governor, your colleagues, when they appear here, we have asked them about the relationship between themselves and their members of the National Assembly. Because the people of Nairobi, for instance, the people of Kamkunji, they really don't care which agency does what road. They don't care whether it is a member of the National Assembly, MCA, or governor who's doing the road. They just want the road done. So in the mediation itself, the members of the National Assembly had proposed a reduction of your or the county's shareable revenue to below even what you were to receive last year. They had proposed a slash to 380 billion. But for us as a Senate, and this is why, Governor, you need to speak to your colleagues, especially in the COG, we feel like the governors don't appreciate the work that the Senate does. If you hear some of the pronouncements from your colleagues directed at members of this House, it is as if they don't understand the work that we do. We have fought, and on principle, we have agreed with the National Assembly on 3 things. That number 1, counties will never receive less than what they received in the previous or preceding financial year. Number 2, that if there is a shortfall in revenue, the person or the entity to bear that is the national government. And thirdly, that Governor, year on year, Senate has always to demonstrate, the national government has always to demonstrate increase in the resources that the county governments receive. So whereas you're telling us that the COG is not happy with the 387, I would be more happy, Governor, if you were saying that we saved you 7 billion Kenya shillings that was going to be removed from the allocation to county governments. Because as you know, you are a senator. A mediation process does not get you entirely what you wanted. And I was getting a bit concerned because your colleagues were threatening to shut down counties, including some from my own political party, and I didn't understand why they were crying like that instead of allowing the Senate to conclude that process. So, in terms of fighting for counties, I think this Senate has done very well, but we don't see reciprocity in terms of just basic respect from members, not you personally, but from some of members of the COG. And I know you had ambitions to be chair of COG. I don't know how the campaigns went, but you need to be able to pass a message to your colleagues that some of the pronouncements really demoralize the Senate in our work.
And 219 says specifically that when there's a shortfall, it must be borne by the national government. So we are grateful, and I will talk to my colleagues because it is not right to disparage the Senate in its efforts. I believe the Senate has done a great job in pushing for us. Of course, in this mediation, maybe the approach could have been different, but that is crying over spilt milk. Because if the 30 days lapsed without an agreement, then we would go back to 400 billion. It was not for us to have an agreement. It was for those pushing an amendment to have an agreement. We would have stuck at 400. But we understand the macroeconomic issues, and I believe we'll grow.
There's something Senator Cherargei said about your friendships. At least I know that one of your friends, my party leader, has taken a position on division of revenue.
Yes.
All those things you are saying, when you discuss with your party leader, what does he say about your views? Because at least mine is clear on how much money should come to the counties. I just want to know, what does he say about some of the things you're saying? And number 2, we have had a conversation in this city about the money that is owed by national government institutions through unpaid rates to the Nairobi City County. Again, I want to understand, when you have those conversations with your party leader, who's the head of state, what is his position on these things? Or should we wait until your other friend becomes the head of state so that these things can be done? You are preaching to the choir.
Yes.
From our perspective, even if you brought that paper tomorrow, I can assure you that the Senate will support you. But then you have other people who you have to talk to. And that is the question I was asking you. I mean, all these good things that you come and tell us here, do you also say them in those other spaces? And what is the sort of reaction?
I'm coming to your question. I was answering Senator the chair's question first on institutionalization. I'm coming to yours. as well.
Governor, just for our benefit, like that one on Thika Road, what is the scope of works? Because all we have seen built are things that look like bus stops, and I don't even remember the last time I saw any work, any activity going on there. Because a BRT cannot be money to paint a red line on one of our lanes.
What we used to call
lipstick. What is the scope of works for that line on Thika Road?
And I would actually invite that we, bring them to do a presentation. When I got in office, I asked the same. I said, BRT is not what the red lipstick in the middle of the road. And I was like, why would you put it in the middle? And these engineers took me through it. I went there at that time with the CS Kipchumba Murkomen. A lot of work has been done on the depot at Kasarani. So at Kasarani, there's a station. And that station is where all of the matatus coming from, the Thika Road side, from Kasarani, Ngomongo area, all of that, then drop people who then get into the buses. A lot of the mechanics for the diesel engines were done. There's now work towards trying to do more electric. Those lines will be completely unavailable for private vehicles. And then what you see on the roads become the station. Now that was stalled because of the lack of financing, because that's a national government line.
Agenda.
The Senator for Nairobi, my friend Senator SIFUNA, has asked a critical question on the philosophy of devolution of certain individuals in our country. I want to say that never before has the capital gotten support in terms of sitting down together, thinking through the problems. I know that the support Governor Kidero didn't get, Governor Sonko didn't get, possibly didn't ask for, but he didn't get that. But the president has created an atmosphere where we can sit down and say, look, we need to sort out the city. If you look at the investment going into the river regeneration project, which is under a commission that we jointly set up, we have representatives of Nairobi there. But if you look at that plan, and it will really excite you as a Nairobian, because you have an inverted city. The rivers were hidden. If you look at the 1926 master plan of the city and 48, the settlers wanted the higher areas. And so they created what they called a buffer zone, which became the slums. That's when there's floods. It's affecting Kibra, Mukuru, Madare, Huruma, all of those. Now that is going to change. But close to 70 billion shillings has been secured by the national government to support that work, plus what Nairobi Water is going to do. So, yes, the president is in full support to the capital. I think he said it as recently as Sunday. And this framework that we're working on with the Minister for Roads, that they would then inject, in the beginning 4 billion, the total cost is 11 billion, I think is an example of that kind of support. I can only speak about that kind of support to Nairobi because I can see it and I feel it. The number of, I think we're the only county that has had a joint cabinet meeting of my cabinet and the national government sitting across the table, the president chairing that side, the governor of Nairobi on this side, saying what do we need to do for the capital. Because you must realize, in as much as it says the capital city shall be governed like any other county, that because it's the seat of the national government and also a diplomatic, this is the only UN headquarters in the global south, then special arrangements need to be done. So I hope I've answered Senator SIFUNA in terms of the personal philosophy of the head of state when it comes to devolution in Nairobi County. Lazima work, we have to.
We just want to see output. So you are saying the philosophy is positive from those heading the executive. I would expect that if that was the case, there are 100 million shillings million US dollars that is stuck in Nairobi in the treasury for the water project. He should be able to unlock it as the head of state. The BRT at Thika Road, why is it stuck? Nothing is happening. The compensation for the people who are evicted for the Nairobi River, you're talking about billions of shillings. They were promised only, I think it was 10,000 shillings each. They have not seen that money. So in terms of output, Governor, which one of those things are you confident that you can deliver for the people of Nairobi before we go into the elections? Which one are you sure 100% that we will get to do? Can you at least promise us that that boulevard you are promising us along the river will be done before we go into the next elections? Because my job will be to remind you.
And I know you're good at reminding me.
Thank you.
Chair, one of the things we said we will do is create order in this city. Because the city needs order. We're building 20 markets. The markets that have excess people will have to work within their limits. It is true at that point, the political atmosphere had been muddied because we had agreed with the market traders Someone was saying they introduced me to these people. The chairman of Wakulima Market is called Tony. He was my youth leader in TNA when I was the chairman. Yeah, we know these people. We speak to them. They want those efficiencies. Remember, less than 2 years ago, 52 women were killed in Londiani because of selling on the road. They were killed. Do we wait for an accident in Nairobi for us to relocate them? Yet we've completed a market somewhere for wholesale. So we had agreed, and we will continue with that plan. And it is not to move the market. You know, it was really expressed badly by, friends of Cherargei, as is claimed. We're not moving any market. The capacity of Wakulima was 97 trucks for wholesale. The 90th truck will go to Kangundo Road. The capacity of the traders was around, and today you'll find 300 trucks. The capacity for traders was less than 1,000. The 1,000 and first will go to Kangundo Road. We're building another market. We're redoing Toy Market. Mutuini Market right now, if you go, is moving very fast. And it is right on a bypass.
Yeah.
So
Governor, just on that line, even as we sit here today, the traders who are trading outside Wakulima Market on the street, they are there now. I've seen it with my own eyes today.
Yeah, and we'll
so what was the fuss all about? I mean, because the impression you gave us is that you had agreements with the traders to move to Kangundo Road. Why are they still there?
It's not the same traders. It's hawkers.
So, then what is the point of moving one person only to be replaced by another?
You have to keep doing it. You know, on theory, Senator, it's good to say we've moved them. Every single day is an enforcement day. Every single day.
So HAIWORK.
It must work.
Yeah, it is not
Lazima
working.
work. It must.
But it's not working yet.
It's not
It is
working
working.
yet.
It is working to a great extent. If you look at the turnover of different people who, and you know, they're aching out a living. In the last 2 years, there have not been running battles in this city, as used to be. You remember, you'd hear stories of hawkers being stabbed with pliers, fighting with the city. You've not had it in 2 years. You've not had a strike of matatus in 2 years because of our continuous engagement with them. And so at times, even if it might, sometimes, have a week of calm and they come back, there's a way we engage them pragmatically and then move them in a humane way. If we took the option of now putting armed police there and start beating up people, it will not work. So, yes, there could be days when traders show up, we engage them. You'll find 2 days where it is clean. Eventually, it has to settle. More markets. Right now, the discussion with them is about Mwariro. Yeah? And they've come to us as recently as last week through my CEC. That's why I'm saying a committee would go deeper into it because we're discussing the audit.
Yeah,
through my CEC
Governor,
just allow me to finish.
Yeah.
Through the CEC of markets, asking that yes, if you can give us space outside the market, the parking area at Mwariro, then we'd be happy to move from there. We want them then, okay, we agree, maybe for some of you, Kangundo is too far, come to Mwariro. It is a continuous engagement. It is not black and white, start and stop. Theoretically it is, but practically when you're actually in there, it doesn't work.
Governor, we started off very well. It's like a visit to the doctors, and you need to be very clear about your symptoms so that we know what you're suffering from. But now if you start to confuse us on the actual state of affairs in some of these areas, we don't know how to help. Are you sure that none of the people who was relocated from Wakulima is back there? You are saying those are new people.
I can say that very confidently. I can say that quite confidently. Yeah. Because you see, even the vehicles have registration numbers.
It's not the vehicles. The overriding, and I even supported you on that. We don't want what happened in Londiani to happen at Wakulima. They're on the road even if we left this room and went there with you now. But you cannot say they are new people. I know some of those traders.
Then convince them to go. If you know them, so help us. Let's work together.
On the day I sit there, Governor, I will have the persuasive powers to move them. But you cannot ascribe.
I wish you well, Chair.
You cannot ascribe work that has been assigned to you constitutionally to your senator. Chair, I have a personal frustration in this committee where I feel that Nairobi doesn't appear as often as other governors. I've seen some governors here more than enough times. And the reason why all these issues build up is because I don't feel like we have enough sessions with Nairobi. So even from your chair, I think you need to give us more time.
I think the Senator of Nairobi is correct, and yourself. A lot of the things, you've asked which of these projects will you do, which ones can you do. When we go together to a house in Ngando that has never received water, and you open the tap, That is audit. If we go together to Kiumbuini in Westlands and talk to a child who's never, been to school every day of the week because of hunger, and now they're eating every day. We're feeding 316,000 children daily at 5 shillings. That is audit. It look better than the documents. If we go out there to see what this revenue we're raising and that we've increased is doing on the ground. So I'm very happy and open to that. When you go to Pumwani and see the first ICU there, Mama Lucy, see the NICU at Mbagathi, see what is happening in Mutwini, where for the first time, people are being referred from private facilities to a public facility because of the machinery. And one of the questions, actually, Senator SIFUNA, when visited us with the health committee, said there's no X-ray. And I put that CEO to task because what he had been telling you possibly was not reflective. Today, go there. It is amazing. So oversight builds institutions. And I am a believer in oversight. I've been a senator longer than I've been a governor. 2020-21, which is when NMS just took over, was 10. 21-22 was 8.9. Then when we came, 10.5 billion, which was the second highest in the history of devolution in Nairobi, because the other higher one was 2015-16, when we did regularization, was 10.5, and the last one is 12.8 billion, which in the last few days, we were targeting 13 billion, but the last few days, you remember, that was June, and you know what was happening towards the end of June. With a lot of the protests within the city, we had a sharp decline in our revenue collection due to the protests at that time. The potential of Nairobi is extremely high. And I'll give you an example. And I need your help as a Senate.
What's the figure for the potential?
For 67 billion. Yeah, that is according to World Bank, to the CRA. They talk about 67. I think
so this is just about 25% of that potential.
And I think it is much higher. The target we put, for instance, annually is our own target. When you say we want to do 20 billion, we believe that with measures and everything held constant, we can get to 20 billion. And I'll give you an example without specifying the current transaction. It might jeopardize it. One of the regularizations we're currently doing in Nairobi, in part of Eastlands, just one scheme with 20,000 settlers is going to give us 7 billion at a go in the next few days if we conclude. Right now they're conducting an aerial survey. People had settled in. It was privately owned. They have built buildings without approvals of the county government. We've said for each and every approved subdivision, because we have to approve the subdivision.
But that's a windfall, because you won't get it in the subsequent year.
Yeah, but that's what happened in 15-16. So that's a windfall, and that's one scheme. We've not looked at, there's so many schemes. There's Kiambu Dandora, there's Embakasi Ranching, there's the whole of pipeline. And so currently, we have two options. We have the regularization bill in the County Assembly of Nairobi, but we also have PLUPA, the Physical Land Use Planning Act, on which we can do that regularization of unauthorized developments. That alone can give us extra from the 12.8 billion, another extra 20-30 billion. Support we need from you. The biggest revenue stream in any city is property taxes. Yeah, globally. Even in Nairobi, it's land rates. I'm happy with my team that we were able first to move to a recent valuation role. Every other part of the country is stuck in 1980s valuation role. We are at 2019 valuation role, but it's 0.015% of the value, which is okay because you don't want to shock people with 3 times or 4 times what they've been paying. Meaning, even for those who what they need to pay today is more than twice, they can only pay twice. If it's more than 100% of what you're paying, we've allowed them to pay in installments. So you can pay monthly for 10 months, leaving 2 months for enforcement action by us.
Chair, just so that we help the governor. Governor, the CS of Lands has been so far very cooperative on matters that we have raised, especially affecting land grabbing in Nairobi, starting with Tomboya Social Hall and the others. So that is something we can do for you as a Senate. Bring that request through your senator. We will be able to get that information for you.